Reality Check with Craig Price.
Oh, right, sorry.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me! Craig, shut up.
Hey, I need you guys to do these things.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So welcome to the podcast that is Reality Check with Craig Price. I am Craig Price, and on today's show we've got Kris and Tim O'Shea of the O'Shea Report. I keep wanting to say rapport because it's easier, and Stephen Colbert is very much an influence. But it is Report with a T, and Kris and Tim are going to talk about partnerships. Now, normally when I walk into an interview, I already know what the title of the episode is going to be called: marketing, communications, things like that. But sometimes I have no idea, and I'm going to have to find a theme during the show. And in this particular one, an underlying message emerged, unbeknownst to Kris and Tim. They had no idea what we're going to talk about. We just walked in and did it because, A, I wanted to talk to them because they're friends of mine and they're fun and they're funny, and I thought we'd have a great time, which we did. But they had no idea we were going to talk about partnership. I didn't know about it until after I listened again, and the underlying theme that kept arising was how they worked together, how they did what they did together. Them being married is a big, huge partnership, but also since they run a business together, they work together, they perform together, there is this underlying theme of partnership that we just couldn't ignore. And partnership is different than teamwork. Teamwork is random folks thrown together to become a team, to work to a common goal. Partnership is two people consciously making a decision to join forces to this common goal. Usually for the long term, sometimes short term, partnerships work out. And partnerships are kind of like marriages in business. You meet people, you find common interests, you seem to be able to work together well. And just like a marriage, it can be great or it can turn into a flaming pile of ash. I've had both situations happen in my life where I've had a business partnership that went very well, and you couldn't ask for anything better, and it just ran its course, and we found other interests and moved on. And then there was the last and most recent partnership, true business partnership I was in. It was the worst situation I could have ever imagined. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it was just, we had two people. We did not have common goals. We had, didn't really see how we were supposed to work together. We just knew that we liked each other, that we could work together in some capacity, which we later found out that was not true, as it devolved into some horrible situation. And that ended very badly, like a divorce. In fact, I still have bad feelings about it. Right now, I'm still getting kind of worked up about it. And so when you do partner with someone, you have to think long term. You have to think, are you both working towards a mutual goal, or are you just working together? There's two different things. Just working together, that could happen. It's going to be a short amount of time together. But are you thinking long term? And sometimes that works out just like a marriage. Sometimes it works out you're married 45 years. Sometimes you want the annulment the day after you say I do. Kris and Tim are two partners that actually make it work, both in their private lives and in their business lives. So I wanted to have them on the show because they're just super funny. They're just great people to be around. I hope you enjoy the show. Any comments, questions, feedback, you can always send to Craig at speakercraigprice.com. Go to the website, realitycheckpodcast.com, and sign up for the newsletter. Subscribe to the RSS feed, or click on the iTunes button and you can go to iTunes and subscribe there. So you can just get it downloaded directly to your iPod, your iPhone, whatever thing that starts with an I. But let me not waste any more time and get right to the O'Shea Report. Oh, Tom Hanks, syllabus. 1, 2, syllabus.
What is that?
I don't know.
That was from he did that as a mic check for on Saturday Night Live.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah, when he was the roadie,
That. Oh, I missed
he would
that.
get up there and go, syllabus. 1. I guess the noise that it made was
That's funny.
fantastic. I'm here with the O'Sheas, Tim and Kris.
Hey there.
Hi.
And I'm really
recording?
Yeah, we're recording. We just go right into it. I don't even.
When he
That'll
says
work.
I'm here with the O'Sheas, that might have
I
been a
thought
good
we were
indication.
texting.
that
No,
we were
I even got you
starting.
singing. So,
nice.
but of all the speakers that I've talked to, I'm the most excited about you two, and I'm not even just blowing smoke, is because
thanks.
there are very few speakers, if any, that I'm jealous of in a entirety. Now, I may be jealous of someone who makes a lot of money, or makes or has a unbelievable depth of expertise or whatever, but there's nobody that I would like to do their job except you guys.
And why is that?
Because explain to everybody what you do.
Okay.
Because I think what you do is awesome, it's unique, and it sounds like every day is super fun, which in the speaking world is not always the case. And this is coming from someone who has no idea how much hard work it takes.
Right.
But if Tim ever went down, it came up like he got some kind of horrible infection.
And that has happened, actually. I did literally go down last year. I was on my bike, and I fell, and I broke my wrist.
Oh, that's right.
We had to miss a booking because of it, and I thought I was going to be crippled for life, and so that has actually happened.
So when
it was a close call.
So when we have to buy him a monkey to feed him,
Right.
I would be happy to, or even you. It could be it'd be me and Tim.
Sure. You
But-
can just wear a wig.
Yeah, well, I could.
You have to shave.
Not necessarily. I'm Italian. You can still get away with it.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But explain to everybody exactly what you do at conferences and at events.
Yeah, it's our program is about dealing with change through humor. Now, that doesn't mean that we are change experts. It just means that we talk about dealing with change through humor. Like a lot of other humorists, we have the thing that we do, which is the funny stuff, and the topic that we have chosen to be funny about and to look at with humor is change, because that's something that everybody has to deal with and go through.
But tell them what you do, because
Well,
I get the topic,
Yeah.
and,
Sure.
and the topic it actually could probably be more than just one thing,
Right.
But it's what you do, because I first got introduced to you guys in I think was it San Diego where you guys did the little clips for San Diego for NSA.
Atlanta.
No, I didn't go to that one.
Phoenix.
Phoenix,
and Atlanta.
that's the one in Phoenix where I saw you guys doing your little reports,
Right.
Which makes me sound like your mom.
Your little, how do you like your little, are you doing your drama skits?
The
Are you
skits.
doing your little drama skits?
Yeah.
No, well, I would say the way we present it is a very different style than most people. We describe it as Saturday Night Live for business. So we do a combination of sketch comedy and news reporting. So what you've seen us do are more of the clips of the news segments.
Right, it was
what
like-
we do more of is actually a full-length keynote program that opens with the news. So it's basically like we open with Weekend Update, Saturday Night Live style, and then we do different sketches, not skits, but sketches, looking at various aspects of change in a funny way. So we've got that like through line message, but delivered in a very different way. So instead of telling a story like most speakers would do, we do a sketch.
Right, and
Yeah.
And like I said, I always tell people when they ask me about you is that you're like the Daily Show for your company meets Saturday Night Live
Right.
with some actual content.
Yes.
And that is,
You could do sales for us.
I can't do sales for me, apparently. But that's the fun part is, and my biggest problem is I'm not an improver, because I think people forget there's a difference between being someone who is into improv or improvisation
Right.
versus someone who can ad lib. I can ad lib. That's just off the cuff stuff at any given moment.
Yes.
That is in the context of that second.
Right.
But for me, improv has always been a little bit more of an absurdist concept, because it's like you're an astronaut in a convenience store selling real estate. Go.
I saw this. There was this guy. He was a comedian. His name actually was Danny DeVito, but he didn't look like Danny DeVito. Of course, he looked like Kenny G. Really, actually, but he had a joke that he did like that, where he would say he was in a cab in New York, and he said he wanted to go to such and such, and the cab driver said, "Direct me." And he goes, "Okay, you're angry, you're in a cab, it's raining, you're in New York, go." But yeah, I think you're right. There's a difference between, the improvisational aspect and somebody who just ad-libs. Improvisation actually does have a structure to it.
Yeah, there's rules.
And
There's
people
rules.
always think, you're rehearsing for improv? How strange.
Yeah,
But,
'cause
you know,
they-
to get good at it.
Because they think that they're like me, where you just kind of say off the cuff stuff,
Right.
which, to be honest, is hit and miss.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
thankfully I'm talented.
so is improv.
I'd like to think that I'm talented enough to be
Yes.
more hit than miss.
Right.
But and you guys know that improv is more hit than miss, but you've got to prepare for it. There's rules. What is it? The and yes.
Yes,
Is that-
and.
It's the yes and thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a no but kind of guy.
Right, and
Well,
that's fine. That's a good thing, because that can work for you too if you do it well. But improv is all BS. That's the deal. It's not as complex as people seem to think it is. And that's just our background. I mean, that's where we come from. We've come from that background. We've come from a, kind of the stand-up nightclub background also.
Well, let's talk about your background then. We'll start with, since we're in Houston today, we'll start with Kris, because she's home.
Yes, I'm here for my 20-year high school reunion.
And you don't even look that old.
Oh, I thank you.
I have to say that because your husband's in the room.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's the only reason I'm allowed to be here today, because my wife is like, oh, is Tim going to be there? Yes. Okay, you're allowed to go. As long as there's a chaperone.
So the only reason you're here is because I wanted you to bring the car.
Yeah, my new car. You wanted to see my semi-new used car.
Right.
So it's
that Heather drives.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't work that way with you guys because you guys are married. She doesn't get the new car.
Actually, well, we kind of take turns.
We take turns.
So
he has the new car now. Next will be me.
I hope my wife listens to this.
She had the new car, and then I was driving the old one, and then it's time for me to get the new car. So it's her turn next to have the new car. Oh, you guys
are so. It's not even funny. I'm not. You guys are. You guys been in therapy for a while? You ever learned how to do that?
No, we just don't like to fight.
Oh, I don't fight. It's yours. I'm not a
car
car person though. See. My wife wants we got the new Mustang.
A new Mustang.
And she really wanted that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I like it the way it looks, but I'm not a car person.
Right.
So I drive a salvage car that's in great shape, only because I use it to take dogs places and run errands, and it's A to B for me.
Right.
But for her, she grew up with cars. Her dad's a car guy.
Oh, okay.
So she likes it. But you grew up here in Houston area.
I did.
And whereabouts?
Out in the Katy area.
Okay, so
out
in the burbs.
In the burbs, in the small town burbs.
So how did you get started doing? I guess would you start off doing sketch, your theater, or were you a drama person?
Yeah, theater. I did theater in high school and always seemed to do those small comedic parts in the plays.
Oh, sure.
And then went to college in Austin at University of Texas and started performing with Esther's Follies, a sketch comedy group out there.
Esther's Follies, that's not at the Velveeta Room.
That's next to the Velveeta Room?
Yeah.
Yeah, they own the Velveeta Room.
Great. If you ever get, I've known some people who did Esther's Follies. It's great.
It was incredible. When I was a freshman, we got an opportunity. The girl was in my acting class, and she said, we need people for this corporate booking, and we need celebrity lookalikes. And I was like, well, I don't look like anybody. And then the next day she comes in and says, well, I just need anyone. And so I went, and Esther's Follies was...
Doesn't that make you feel talented and used?
Yeah, I'm like, anybody. Okay,
just
sure.
Get that girl.
Yeah, okay. So a few of us went over, and Esther's Follies was organizing it, and they wanted some cheap college labor to fill in. And so...
I believe that's every improv.
Yes, exactly. So I ended up, they put me on the main stage and singing a song and doing... So that was my first corporate booking when I was 18. So I was like, this is kind of fun. And so I went and saw a show at Esther's Follies. I said, can I intern with you guys in the summer? And they said, sure. And I figured I'd be schlepping coffee for people. And so I show up Tuesday to rehearsal, and they say, you're in the show Thursday night. And I was, kind of freaked out because that was not much time to prepare. And so did 5 shows a week all summer, and it was great training. And then from there did lots of theater, then went to a school in Northern California. It was a physical theater conservatory, so learned a lot of kind of physical comedy techniques. And then when I moved to Denver, started doing more improv and more sketch, and that's how Tim and I met.
And now, Tim, where are you originally? You're originally from Denver area.
Yes, I grew up in Denver, and I wasn't actually born there. I was actually born in Illinois, but I grew up in Denver.
Yeah, you seem like a Chicago guy.
Yes, because I have 1 year worth of upbringing in
No,
Illinois.
it just seems like you're like me. You're short. You're dark haired.
Oh, okay.
Kind of cranky sometimes.
Right. No, that's just New Jersey,
sometimes.
I think.
Yes.
My folks are from New Jersey, so that's
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah. And I'm from the Northeast. So in Chicago, it's basically the Northeast just moved over a couple thousand miles.
Right. So yes, but I grew up in Denver, and I kind of got started there in my comedic ventures. There in Denver, I started doing some sketch groups and some improv groups, and I did stand up for a little while also, and just kind of cut my teeth in the whole theater nightclub community there in Denver. And then during the day, I was working corporate jobs. I had a long corporate career, 10, 15 years probably, working these corporate jobs, and it was just very interesting to be, the night before I'd be hanging around with people from Saturday Night Live, and then the next day be in a gray, pale blue cube, people handing me going, could you look up this back order on this invoice for me, please? The paradox of the two worlds was very interesting.
Did you find that if you were ever out of work and you were looking for a quote-unquote real job, and they found out you did the other stuff, they'd ask you some like bizarre questions. Like I lived in New York City, and I was doing stand-up in New York City, and I was also temping in New York City. And so I would go to a job interview, and they go, "Oh, I brought you here." And I'm like, "Well, I do stand-up at nights." And they go, "Well, what happens if you get a sitcom? Are you going to leave?" Yeah. And let's be honest here, if I was good enough for a sitcom, I wouldn't be here at the interview.
Right.
But I mean, you ever get like situations where it's like once they find out what you do at night, like Batman, you're totally different perspective?
Yeah, I think every now and then people would make a comment, but most of the time I found like well, first of all, unlike anything else, I was actually able to hold a job for a while. So I was in jobs, I worked at companies for 3-4 years at a time. But if on the interviews every now and then somebody would go, oh, that's very interesting. But then they wouldn't talk much more about it because I think they assumed that if just, like you, if I was sitting there, things must not have been going very well.
Yeah.
So they assumed, so they just kind of didn't touch it. But around the office, people kind of knew what I did at night, and they went out, and sometimes people would come see me, but most of the time they didn't, just because that's just not what people do.
Yeah, improv is an acquired taste, so to speak. To see it on a regular basis can be, for me, kind of harrowing. I can take it in small doses.
Right. I always knew who my friends were.
Yeah, those are the ones that
show up at a show or something like that, versus people that never got out. I don't know, maybe they had kids or something.
And I don't think we've been to an improv show in at least 10 years, so...
No, but we haven't really needed to either.
No.
Yeah, no. And once I stopped doing stand-up, I've only been to a comedy club like twice, and once was as a favor to a friend as an MC.
Right, of course. It's usually a favor.
And the other one was I'll go to a theater to go like see Robin Williams.
Right.
I won't go to a comedy club full of drunks and bad comics until the good one.
I won't even go near a comedy club.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a block away, that's too close.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I think you are a block away right here. Where
sure, yeah, but I don't know anybody there. So.
No, that one, I think that's closed.
Oh, is it closed?
There's one nearby here.
On the Comedy Sports?
Comedy Sports is improv.
Yeah, we saw that. That was,
and I'm not sure are they up and running over here? Because I know they're downtown. But
I saw them online. I mean, I saw on the map it said Comedy Sports. Who knows?
So you guys met in an improv situation,
we met in a group.
What character were you?
I think I was a tree at the time, and
I was a river.
And I wasn't allowed to speak, so the river sang for me.
That's actually not far off.
That's not.
Oh, what an evil trick that is! The tree that doesn't speak, and then you found out that it's a cursing tree.
I went to go see a show, a sketch show, and I saw Tim was in the show, and I thought to myself, maybe he's the one. I was actually thinking about a different guy in the show.
Sure.
But
why not? I'm thinking of a different guy right now.
I was thinking that about a different guy.
Yeah, I was. But then I got to know.
Gets old.
Yeah, I then got cast in the next show in the group, and it was a combo. They had improv one night and sketch one night, and so we became friends, and we enjoyed writing together, and we made each other laugh, and I started dating some other guy, and I was like,
he's not nearly as good as this Tim guy.
I like talking to Tim better than this other guy.
But this one's so tall and handsome.
I don't need tall. I'm 5 feet tall.
I know well, tall is like 5'8", so
Perfect.
So I'm 1 inch below that. I'm 5'7".
Yeah.
So I hit some kind of
happy medium
requirement.
Yeah, you must be this tall to date.
Ride the woman.
That sounded horrible.
Well, I'm married to her.
That's all right. Yeah, you can say that now.
It's all legal. I'm wearing the ring right now, people.
I noticed because
there it is.
When I came in, it was sitting on the table here.
It was. I took mine off.
I was just getting sweaty after lunch.
Yeah.
So you're that kind of couple.
Yeah.
But we'll get off your personal stuff. But how long you guys been married?
This summer will be 12 years.
Because it's important because I noticed that there's only 2 types of relationships in a speaker's life if they're married. One is 12 years, they work together, everything's great, they're happy, they share cars, they're wonderful.
Right.
Which is about 4%. Then there's the 96% that is just it's littered with broken relationships and misery, and yet they speak on being happy and motivation stuff,
And they hook up at convention.
Yeah, like I'm going to call out Anthony Robbins. He was, married for a long time, and then he was promoting all this stuff, and then he's divorced. But when he was telling people, it was like, we're moving forward and all this stuff. It's like, no, you're a jerk. She probably hates your guts, you big freak, and you guys got divorced. Just say that. Why can't you just say people don't work out?
Yeah,
But no, it's like
sometimes
we're growing apart. It's like, no, she can't stand you, or you got too much money and now you're going with someone who's much younger. But they don't say that.
Right.
But it's really nice to see that the married couples, because like my wife and I, we are not going to be working together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine.
No, that's good. I think that's
I think that's a.
She won't even come see me speak. She's only seen me speak once.
Wow.
And that's fine because I travel so much.
I don't watch Tim speak very often.
Yeah, and you're 4 feet from him on stage.
I don't look at him. No.
But
Yeah, you do. I need to make more eye contact with you. Anyway.
Yes.
we'll get it all out.
Talk about the notes later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But so you got married, but when did you guys start the quote unquote the business, which is kind of the weirdest situation?
In 2001. We started right before 9/11. It was
yeah.
great.
Perfect timing. Hey, if you can survive that though.
Yeah,
well, we wanted to get started doing this because I had, in my corporate work, I was doing a lot of, obviously they had a lot of meetings and events at this company where I worked, and I thought, well, that's an interesting field to be getting into. I know where the microphone is. Why are you? Excuse us for just a second.
Hold on a second.
Hey, no.
Stop it. Now,
Yeah, please don't. No chokeholds. That's all I'm asking. I don't want to be part of a crime, but I don't mind you guys bickering. That's great.
so they used to have speakers and comedians and so forth at these events, and I thought, well, that might be an interesting field to get into. So we just decided at one point that we wanted to give that a go, and on the recommendation of a friend, we ended up getting a booking at this community college in Denver. 500 people were in the audience. It was huge.
What were you? You're just doing improv? You're doing sketch?
We
What were
were
you
doing
at
the
that time?
first part of what we. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were gonna do. We booked it. And,
True improv.
Yeah.
Right.
The rawest, most
Yeah.
natural,
So
the
We got
pure.
the booking and went,
Oh shoot, we got to create a program now. So we created the program and we went and did it. And actually, we were really good right out of the gate. I mean, just first time on stage, we really had a good time.
Well, that's because you guys had the background
Right,
for
right,
it.
right.
Right. Yeah. So and we drove home and celebrated and thought, this is great. We're on our way. We started our business. We're going to be a huge hit. This was on September 7th, 2001. So as you can imagine, Tuesday morning you wake up and you see all this stuff. I always like to quote Lewis Black. He says there wasn't a person on September 11th when they saw what they saw on television that didn't think, well, this really F's up my plans.
Yeah.
And that's what happened is, okay, everything is just crumbling right before you.
Right.
So the next few years were quite a struggle.
well, and we didn't know anything about how to run a business or how to market or how to package, and so
and
it was definitely a learning curve. We ended up for a while going back and working in the corporate environment. I worked as a trainer, so we were doing this on the side and kind of had no life for a few years because it was like work, and then work on the business when we weren't working.
And that's actually a sensible way to do it. That's
Absolutely.
the way a lot of people do it.
That's the way they should do it. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
that's why I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the whole concept of the show here.
Yes.
Is I want people to talk about the reality of the
Yes.
situation, not
Yes.
like we were great right out the door
Right.
and business came in and we're booked solid
God.
24 hours a day, and in fact we're charging you this, you'll get the invoice later, Craig. And
Yes.
so
Yeah, no, that was not
we
our
immediately
reality.
started at the Double X conference or whatever it is from Up in the Air with George
Yeah, the
Clooney.
Dos
The
Equis
Dos
or-
Equis conference or whatever that Goal Quest.
Oh,
that
my
was what it
God,
was.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
immediately Goal Quest, and that was it.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
were
no,
on the
it's
cover of every magazine.
well, I find a lot of speakers that I talk to at these conventions, which is why I only go to them because I like to see my friends
right.
that are in
Right.
the business and meet some new ones, but you got to weed through a whole bunch of crap to get to them.
People
Right.
you handing you books while you're in the bathroom.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It must be a woman thing,
this
because
is actually true.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's
you have free hands when you're going to the bathroom, so maybe you can
it's
hand
when
stuff
you're
to
out
it.
at the sink and it's
Oh,
like,
and you're
I'm just trying to get rid of these books. Here, have one. I'm like, well, if you're trying to get rid
There's
of
a
them, why
garbage
do I
for-
want one?
Yeah, keep going. There's
Take it to the
a
recycling.
garbage a foot
She's
away.
leaving out some of the specifics just to be polite, but what happened?
don't be
was
polite here. This is a safe place.
Yeah, and no one's listening.
Yeah, nobody's listening. I can guarantee
Hi,
you.
Sharon.
No, but she had somebody come up. Hi, Gina. Anyway.
I'm not sure Gina's listening.
I don't, probably not. No, she doesn't have
But
time.
Jared is definitely listening.
Hi,
He's
Jared.
probably writing down everything we're saying, and he's probably going to call us afterwards.
She had somebody come up to her in the bathroom who had a brain injury and was handing her a book, or she had some kind of.
It was she because it was in the bathroom.
Yes, I know.
So she was. They're just handing out books.
Yeah. The hand
Well, I'm
tube
glad I
was
didn't
in
bring
the
mine
bathroom.
today. Now I feel even better.
No, we do want your book.
But I think that a lot of speakers just they just jump into it thinking it's going to be overnight success,
Right.
or at least overnight I can pay my bills. And
Well,
that's not true.
what we thought. I mean, we were listening to all the motivational stuff, and we're going to take that leap of faith, and it's going to happen, and we're going to use our positive thinking, and
Yeah, no, the person who sold that is making the money.
yes, exactly.
It only works for the guy who sells it to the people who buy it.
Exactly. And then when you aren't doing well, it's like, well, you must not really believe it and feel it. It's like, no, I really do believe it and feel it, but I also can see that,
I have limitations.
there are bills
Yeah.
to pay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we took a very measured approach, and I think you've got to look at your finances and reality, and also just know that you're going to grow a certain amount each year. And, people talk about push beyond your comfort zone and set your goals really high, but when you're, setting your reality of what you'll be able to accomplish, when you push yourself so far out of your comfort zone, bankruptcy is happening to people all over this country right now who used, The Secret and...
Well, and even the people who actually planned.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's not just the people who are crazy and listen to weird stuff. It's
Right.
the people who thought things out
Right.
and planned and
true.
did everything correctly.
That's true.
It's just that they got into the wrong situation, or that someone convinced them to, get these, I call them balloon payments. And it's
Right.
not because they throw you a big party at the end of it. These balloon payments are wiping people out.
Right.
And I think a lot of people need to be a little more aware. I was like, hey, this is how it works. I mean, I'm kind of happy that I started on my own in 2008, because that was pretty much the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, it can only go up.
Sort of, sure. You hope. And it's been fairly okay, but
Yeah.
it's like one of those situations where once people actually have some money, I'll do even better. I'm not really concerned about income at this point, as long as it's enough to pay bills.
Right.
I just want to grow.
And I think that's sensible. I think you just need to be sensible and realistic about it, because that's how a lot of people do things. If they have something that they want to do, they want to start a business, they want to do something on their own. You do what you need. You do what you do. You do what you need to do first to get that going. So that means you work such and such job for a while to get that going, and then when the timing is right, then you make that transition. It's just being realistic and sensible.
So you launch out. You're working sometimes 2 jobs, but then you finally get to the point where, hey, we don't have to get up in the morning at 9 a.m. unless we're getting paid to go do a gig.
Right.
The concept what you guys do, because I would imagine that you would have to do more attended conferences. I mean, I do a lot of chapter meetings where there's like 30, 40 people, but
Right.
I mean, when I talk to you guys, it sounds like you have a lot of technical stuff going on.
We do. We have a lot of, we like to cheat and use a lot of multimedia in our program.
You guys have videos. You've
Right,
got music.
right.
I mean, it's the videos that you've made.
Yes.
Correct. Like commercials between sketches and yeah.
Right.
So I would imagine you're doing much larger. I mean, we actually are. I think we're this year. I'm overlapping. I'm actually doing a couple, not with you, but I've done some conferences you've done in the past.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
But it's one of those things where they have to have a larger conference because
Sure.
it's a lot of stuff to cover.
Well, I think, we do a combination of, if we do associations, I mean, there'll be a few hundred to a few thousand people. And then, we'll do a lot of sales groups as well. We'll go to like a company's division sales meeting. So, I mean, the size of the group really kind of runs the gamut. But
I think the smallest audience we had was literally 7 people.
Oh yeah. See, I do those all the time.
And they were great.
Yeah.
They were fun.
Especially when everybody has to participate, because you do a lot of getting people on stage and helping you out.
Actually, we don't. I mean,
thought I've seen your video shows you with people.
we have a couple.
we have a couple bits.
We have one segment where we bring a couple of audience members up on stage with us, and that's it. And that's the distinction. I mean, improvisation and the comedy background. I mean, that's where we come from, but that's actually not what we do.
Right.
There's a difference, because what we do is we do the humor program about change. And then we have, we don't even use the word improv. to
Right, no, but
describe
it scares
anything we do.
people.
I'm
It
just
does.
going with your tool set because I know you guys, and I know that's a tool that you guys use
Right.
constantly that may not be as obvious to people.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem prepared. It seems, natural, but it's
completely scripted.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, we have the one bit that is based on an improv bit. But even that, because it's for a corporate audience, it's not about our creative process and being artists at that particular moment.
No.
It's more, it's
about
got to be funny. Yeah.
It's about the money.
It's got to be funny. It's got to land for them. And so, even with that, we don't know what the audience members who come up are going to give us, but we've done it enough times. You get some stock things in your bag. But mostly it is scripted sketches.
And how much are you customizing those sketches to the individual client?
It depends. I mean, we customize as much as we can for every single booking that we do.
We have a couple of segments that lend themselves well to customization.
Yeah. They're open segments, I call them.
Yeah.
That you can pretty much use them. That's why I love my topic. I can use it in any situation, but you just have to know your stuff.
Right.
Where you've got that, whatever bit that is, that it can work if it's a room full of maintenance men or it's CEOs.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that there's that much difference between the two.
There are some things that are transferable, like that will work with a sales group or management or something like that. There's some crossover there. And then there are some things that are so unique that we actually do have to spend time creating it. One of our favorite clients that we work with every year now is the American Payroll Association. And so there's so much material there. And we thought at first, gosh, how are we going to be able to customize this? But it turns out there's a lot of material there. And we were able to make that work,
We tend to find the area that lends itself best to humor is more of the human interactions, the person-to-person, interpersonal issues that people have, rather than all of the technical. I mean, sometimes we will go with, the technical things and put them in. But really where people need to have that release of laughter is that interpersonal stuff that drives them crazy. And so if we can kind of hold up that mirror and show them, and then even do what they would like to do in the situation, then that is, I'm going to use a theater word, cathartic.
I believe that's a psychology word that they apply to the theater.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
That's a word
I'm sorry, I only speak
we
theater.
use at dinner time after one of us has cooked.
So
I thought it was a surgery, but that's just me. But your process, how do you guys? I mean, because you do several different things. You've got your keynote that you're doing.
that's probably 90% of what we do.
Right, but then
99%.
yeah, because I do see that you guys put videos up, and they're not just videos of you speaking. They're like you did that commercial where what was it, Omnizac and things like that.
So we play that every time in our keynote. We'll do the news, and then it goes to Omnizac.
Yeah. So how do you guys put that together? Something like that.
Something like Omnizac, or
just in general. Like if you have a bit that you want to do a video of, we'll say Omnizac.
It usually starts with some kind of an idea. I or Kris will say, hey, we should do something on such and such sales process. Like one idea that we're working on right now is the difference between sales and operations. There's a difference. There's always a disconnect between what sales does, what sales says, and what operations can do.
Right.
So we're thinking about, putting something like that together. So it just starts with the idea, and then we have to sit down and kind of hash it out and flesh it out and go, okay. And the idea always starts off great, and then the more we talk about it, we realize, oh, is this any good? Is this funny?
That's when you start to rationalize and you start to think it through, and then maybe some of the technical difficulties, because there is only two of you.
Right.
It's like, we need the third person, or we need a couple extra people.
Right.
But when
that's why we have wigs. I mean,
when the ideas flow, though, I mean, it really does kind of, like Omnizac was something that just kind of came together. We're like, oh, well, let's do this, and let's do this, and let's do this, and let's do this. And we shot a bunch of stuff. If you're making a video, you have to shoot 2 to 3 times. I like to shoot 2 to 3 times as much material as what we will probably need.
Right.
Because you're not going to use, and people that make movies, Hollywood, they do that.
Yeah, unlike this where we're going to use whatever and then slap it up there.
I think too, if we are say writing something, whether it's video or presented live, we brainstorm a lot of ideas. We'll go back and forth. Like Tim will take it and he'll, sketch it out, and then I'll take it and add things, and then he'll take. So we just we'll email things back and forth to each other.
Well, I saw you do Facebook statuses whether you're in each other's room. It's like your breakfast is cold the other day.
Yes.
But so how much rehearsal are you guys doing? Because I mean, like you said, this is not something you just like. For me, I only need to rehearse so much, because for me it's more of I have my topic and it's my expertise. It's negativity. I know all about it. If someone was just going to stand me in a room and ask me questions, I could for an hour. I could answer those questions. It'd be somewhat entertaining. It wouldn't be my program, but I could do that.
Right.
But it's just me. With
Yeah.
you guys, there's an element of timing. There's got to be a little more. There's a lot more prep work than just me going up there. Now you have someone else you got to work with. Now being married helps. I'm assuming.
It does actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine. Imagine being around someone 24 hours a day every day.
You know, you can wake up at 9 in the morning and say, hey, let's work on this. You know, so we can
9
we can
in
do
the
that
morning.
if we need to. That's just an example. I'm just trying to create this illusion that we have actually some sort of schedule. You know, but
Noon.
But it does help to have
It's an early day for you.
the power of having a writing partner, because I can go to her and I can say I'm stuck on this. You know, can you take it and see what you can do with it? And she'll do the same. She'll take it and then she'll get stuck at a certain point and hand it back to me. It's like a football team almost.
Yeah.
See, I just do it to my wife and she rolls her eyes and goes away because she's not.
And rightly so.
She goes,
I would say.
or I'll just say something and it has nothing to do with work and she goes, "Are you doing a bit? Are you doing a bit?" I'm like, "No, I'm not doing a bit. I'm expressing my opinion in the moment. I'm sorry, it sounds like a bit." But so you guys work together on writing, and then how much, like I said, how much actual rehearsal are you guys doing?
I would say
A lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we have these 2 bits in particular that we customize. So anytime after we've written the customization for those segments, then we will rehearse the custom segments a few times, and then we'll do a full run, top to bottom, or maybe just transitions. But we rehearse those custom bits constantly. Several times before.
So he's like sitting in the lazy boy and you're in the kitchen and you're just doing them?
Well, we have gotten to that point.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be we had to kind of really schedule and structure this and totally focus. But now it's kind of like, hey, let's do a line through of the Decades scene, you know, and I'll be in the kitchen getting a glass of water and she's, you know, over by the fireplace and we're just throwing the lines across the room. So we have gotten to that point on some of them. But with anytime we're creating material or customizing a piece for someone, we do really make sure that we go through it a lot over and over again to make sure that we really, really know it.
Well, and what we usually do is several interviews beforehand to get the info. So we not only talk to the meeting planner or whoever has hired us, but then we ask to speak to 2 or 3 people who are representative of who's in the audience, because often what the people at the top want you to say isn't a very good representation of the reality of the audience. And so,
or they may not even understand the perception of the audience.
Right. And so, I don't want to be a mouthpiece for management. I will certainly get across messages that they want me to get across, but I have to know what's in the mind and the heart of the people in the audience, because if you just go in and you're saying something from the perspective of the management, you're going to lose the audience.
You're a shill.
So, exactly.
Yeah,
so I think, and we actually have a whole bit about perspectives and looking at different people's perspectives, and we basically, it's kind of a scripted version of an old improv kind of sketch where you would do a scene and then you do it again in a different, soap opera or whatever.
Different genre. Now,
exactly.
Now you're doing it in science fiction.
Right.
And then,
but we have it scripted out, and then we make the point of everybody's coming to the same situation but has their own perspective at it. So people laugh at it, they have a good time watching it, and then it does open their mind to go, maybe I should consider somebody else's perspective and not just my own.
And they do appreciate it. They appreciate that we have done the research and taken the time to find out about who's in the audience and what they do, and we get that a lot. You guys really got to know who we are, and they appreciate that. They can tell when somebody's coming in and they don't know who they're in front of. Like we were on a conference call with a client, and they decided to have one of the other speakers on the conference call with us.
Oh.
And we knew we knew who they were and what we were doing for them, and the speaker did not even know who he was talking to on the phone.
He didn't even know if he was booked.
He
was
didn't
like,
know.
why are we talking?
Why are we talking? He didn't know.
I may know this speaker.
And, and the client said, "No, you're speaking on such and such time." He's like, "Oh, okay. Well, Denise or whoever has not talked to me about it yet."
And then he starts talking about how many lumens his projector should have. It's like, I think they
No,
want
that's
you
not
to
the same guy.
understand the people.
Guy I know doesn't even understand what the word lumen means.
I don't even know how to spell
You know,
it.
we tried
L-U-M.
several years ago to see about just creating a program that, you know, would be completely universal, that would work for anyone, that we wouldn't have to do so much customization. And it was fine, but it didn't have that special connection that we get when we do that customization. So, I mean, we have gotten to the point where it is fairly standardized for us in how we can get the information and write the information. It's not the
You got the process in place to
exactly.
get the goods.
right, and it makes a big difference for us. So it's worth the extra work.
The APA, who we work with every year, I mean, we do something brand new for them every single time at their convention. So that involves a lot of writing and a lot of prep and a lot of rehearsal because we have to go out, you know, and it has to be right the first time.
And this is more of that 1% that you've seen us do more at.
Yeah, I see all the
Speakers
good custom
Association.
stuff.
Yeah.
I don't see the out of the box crap. I see the good custom stuff.
So, and it's just 5-minute segments each day. And as you know, to write 5 minutes of new material is a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
much of a writer, so I don't know.
So, you know, at the end of the week, we will have written 15 minutes of new material. And so it's a lot of work. But thankfully, they have really robust themes that we can really kind of hang on to.
Now, what happens if, in your brainstorming, one person has an idea they're in love with, and the other person thinks it's the worst possible thing and possibly a career ender?
Well, that's
Happens on a regular basis?
That's the rub. That's the difficulty that we run into. And it's not as if people get really attached or passionate to their ideas in this particular working relationship. You know, there's always an acceptance of different approaches and.
Man, what is that? I think I'm smelling a lot of crap. I don't know what that is.
Sarcasm,
Yeah.
I
What is?
think,
So-
no, I think we, particularly if we have to come up with something quickly on the spot, it definitely amps up the pressure, and we can certainly get into some arguments. But I think when we're in
Hideous! Excuse us for just a second. We're talking about really, really bad arguments. Why can't we just actually represent the reality of what we do?
that's
Okay.
fine.
All right. So anyway, yeah, no, we will go
it's all
back and
fine. It's sunshine and roses.
Oh, the medication's
we
kicking in.
will really argue
on the
about
sack.
the pronunciation of a word.
Yeah.
You get that detail.
I think you should say the instead of the. Well, F you! You know, and it's just, yeah. Oh, no, it's hideous
Oh, so
in some
We're
cases.
very perfectionistic,
Yeah.
both of us.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Absolutely.
my
That's
God.
that's probably why I get along with both of you because I think we both have similar styles. I used to do improv and sketch theater, and they would get mad at me because they wanted to be like Saturday Night Live, and that's the bar that they were setting at. And let's be honest, a good third of Saturday Night Live on a weekly basis sucks.
Well, of course, they're coming up with an hour of new
Oh, yeah.
material.
No, but I mean, these guys are professionals, and they spend 24 hours a day writing every week.
Yeah.
And this group is like a community theater, and so they had this one sketch that was just awful. Mm-hmm. And it had no ending, which a lot of sketches, that's the biggest problem I find with sketches, is they have no ending. It's like they got a great premise, the middle's awesome, and then end scene. And I would be the one that would be like, the ending was so bad that we couldn't do it that night. I'm like, why don't we just pull this out of the show and we'll work on it and we'll get it good for next week. Oh no, the show must go on. Yes, it does have to go on, but not with this piece.
Yeah,
and
it has to be good.
So I'd be the one that would go, wait a second, it has potential, but not tonight.
Right.
And we'd get in fights about what's going to be in the show, because there's obviously a limit, especially in community theater, of quality.
Sure.
I mean, I understand that it's not going to be Saturday Night Live every night.
Right.
But at some point you've got to,
But
cut.
as you said earlier, I mean, even Saturday Night Live is not Saturday Night Live. You know, they have to write a lot of stuff, and sometimes they hit it, and sometimes they don't, and that's just the nature of it. You know, you can think that this stuff will work, and then it doesn't. I always like it when she thinks that something is really going to work well, and then we go up and it just bombs.
It hits the ground hard, huh?
And that's just
'Cause you
hilarious
kill
to
it.
me.
Yeah, because you kill it.
It's all the execution. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Literally, the execution.
No, I told you not to say so many words, or whatever the criticism is. And then it'll happen to me. I'll be like, oh, I think this is hilarious. And nothing. It's so
well,
much
also
fun.
just you never know audience to audience. I mean, you could do pretty much the same program. Oh, hello.
She found the mic.
Here, can we just...
Pretty
40 minutes in, she finds the mic.
You can do pretty much the same program from group to group with just the difference in the customization. And Group A is rolling on the floor, and Group B is like.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely. Yeah. I know comics like to blame the audience.
No.
Right.
But let's be honest. On a rare occasion, sometimes most of the time it's not the audience. It's the performance.
Right.
But sometimes you just run into a buzzsaw of an audience that is just. They're either hungover because they were partying the night before at a conference.
Well, or the culture of the group, or the profession. I mean, if they aren't an extroverted profession, they're going to be a lot quieter. If it's a room full of men, unless they're in sales, they're probably going to be a lot quieter.
Oh, I ran into a buzzsaw in safety. I was doing a safety program for a construction company in St. Louis, which is a fairly conservative.
And
I did my deal, and I don't push the edge that much, especially everything's PG. I do a lot of HR groups, so you gotta. I'll even approach it going, hey, this is the HR people. Hold your ears for a second, and then I won't even say anything that's that horrible.
Right.
I put a picture of me as Miss America. Now it's not me dressed as Miss America; it's photoshopped. All I did was put a crown on, in my suit and tie, and a sash, and a bunch of roses. And they thought it was a little too out there. In fact, that's the note. They were upset because they thought, I guess they were extremely homophobic, and they really thought that was inappropriate for their meeting. And I'm like, that right there?
Right.
So when you run into a situation like that on stage, how do you react when she launches a missile and it hits the ground, or vice versa? What's your recovery method?
We kind of, it's more like recovery method is just to keep going, really.
Right.
But,
just ignore that it happened?
Yeah, because, we've got a whole bunch of other stuff that we need to do, that we need to deliver. But one of the things, we always have these first couple of things that we do in our keynote where we gauge the audience response, and we can kind of tell pretty early on, how good or not so good of a crowd they're going to be by whether or not they respond to these first couple of things that we're doing. So it's like, oh, okay, and we can tell, like, all right, this is going to be a little bit of work today, or, oh, these guys are going to be fun. You can usually tell that pretty early on.
Yeah.
And
sometimes we have to warm them up. We have to get them.
So that's what I do. I like to circle the group before I even go up, just when they're coming in, and just talk to 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Hey, how are you? What's going on? How long you been with the association, or how long you been in the company? And then move on, so they're comfortable with me.
Yeah,
because I'm kind of in your face.
But even then, you can't tell.
Right.
I mean, because we've had it where we thought, oh, they seem like a good group, and then we start, and it's.
But it's one of those you get them by the end, So sometimes it's like, we'll do the opening news, and it's oh God. But then by the end, they are rolling in the aisles and having a good time. So, or you'll get a group who maybe they're a little quiet throughout. They'll be a little more, but then they'll come up afterwards and be like, "Oh, that was great!
Yeah.
Oh, I love that!" And it's like, why didn't you, show me during?
Act that way.
Because it is a 50-50. It's a dance.
How come you couldn't actually show that you were actually alive at that moment?
Right. So we don't take it personally because we've done the program so many times and we know it works. And if they're quiet, it's not us.
I don't like to look at let's say that everybody, you hear a lot of people focus on this, the one guy, like there was a conference that we were at, and then this sales guy went up before us, and he's like, there's this one guy that refused to smile, and I thought to myself, I'm going to get that guy. I'm like, don't look at that guy.
Yeah,
look at the 10, 20, 100 other people in the room that are smiling. Look at them.
Well,
those are the people that
you can
need
sacrifice the rest of the room for that one guy.
Just, get therapy and work on your daddy issues, and you're fine.
You know what? I think
Who's your daddy? Sorry.
I think that's a good close right there. Who's your daddy?
We got 1.5 minutes to waste, so I'm just trying to think of things.
No, it's never a waste with you guys.
Oh.
Where can people find you if they're looking for you? They want to book you because people who listen to me, I can tell you, you're definitely going to like them because they're twice as good as me.
Sure, it's theo'sheareport.com. That's TheOshea report.com.
I like how he had to spell it. He
Call
spells
now.
O'Shea, but not report.
And you will get a free library subscription, which library is free, but that's not the point.
Well, I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to tell you, if anybody has the opportunity to book these two, even if it's just for the video segments you guys do are awesome, even if it's just that, and that's probably more work for you. You're like, don't push that, but you're so good at those.
Oh, thank you.
And, if Tim goes down, I'm there for you.
Thank you.
It's happened before.
Now I know who to call.
Yeah, and it may happen again on purpose. That ends another reality check with Craig Price. I want to thank Kris and Tim O'Shea of the O'Shea Report for joining me. I certainly appreciate their time. You can always find us at realitycheckpodcast.com. You can sign up for the newsletter, subscribe to the RSS feeds, click on the iTunes button and join us there on your iPod or your iPhone. And any questions, comments, or suggestions can be sent to Craig at speakercraigprice.com. I will be the one personally responding. Hope to hear from you soon.